Welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we look at transport in animals. Animals are more metabolically active than plants. Because of their greater metabolic activity, they have a greater need for transport of nutrients and oxygen to the tissues and the removal of metabolic wastes from the tissues. In large multicellular animals, the surface area to volume ratio is very small. This means that the volumes of tissues are too large, making the distances traveled by substances to be very large. For these reasons, diffusion alone cannot cater for the transport needs of the organism. As a result, animals have developed circulatory systems for transportation of substances within their bodies. For example, for the transportation of nutrients from the intestines to the tissues where the nutrients are utilized, or transportation of oxygen from the lungs to the tissues, and also transportation of waste products from the tissues to the excretory organs. Now, each circulatory system, regardless of the organism, has the following components. Each circulatory system has a circulating or transporting fluid that is commonly referred to as blood. This is the fluid that carries substances either in solution form or suspension from one part of the body to the other. A second component of the circulatory system are the vessels. Vessels are tubular structures that conduct the circulating fluid. It is through these vessels that circulating fluid moves from one part of the body to the other. Though the extent of the presence of these vessels varies from one organism to another, but every circulatory system should have at least some components of vessels, either partially or entirely. And then the third and very important component is the heart. The heart is a pumping structure or organ that produces the force which pushes the circulating fluid through the circulatory system. Now, there are basically two types of circulatory systems in the animal kingdom. So, namely, open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system. We will start by looking at the open circulatory system. Open circulatory system is one in which the blood is pumped and flows through the body cavity known as coelom. The body cavity of animals is known as coelom. So this blood is pumped by the heart and flows through the coelom. The coelom is the free space between the body wall and organs. So in between the organs in the body, the cavity is known as the coelom, and it is through this coelom that the blood flows. Now, since the coelom is fluid filled, that is, since the coelom is filled with blood, then it is for that reason known as hemocell. So when the body cavity is filled with blood, then it's known as hemocell. And the fluid, the circulating fluid within the coelom is known as hemolymph. Hemolymph. So in the open circulatory system, let's say that the blood is pumped and flows through the coelom, and this makes the coelom a hemocell. And the blood that flows through the hemocell is known as the hemolymph. Open circulatory system is found in animals such as the arthropods, which include insects, and arachnids such as spiders. Now, if you look at the cross-section of the body of an arthropod, you can see how this open circulatory system looks like. So here, this is the body wall, and then we have the gut. So between the body wall and the gut, that is the alimentary canal, there are organs. The heart and internal organs. The spaces within the body and in between the organs is what is known as a coelom. So it is this fluid-filled coelom that becomes hemocell. So blood is pumped by the heart into the general body cavity, flows between the organs, bringing nutrients and taking away waste products. Then the blood gets back to the heart where it is pumped again and the circulation continues on and on. The second circulatory system is the closed circulatory system. Now, in this system, the blood is pumped and flows through closed vessels. So here, the blood is confined within closed vessels. It never leaves, the blood never comes into contact with the tissues directly. This system is found in vertebrates, such as fish, amphibians, mammals, and of course reptiles and birds. Now, a cross-section, this is a cross-section of the body of a vertebrate, shows this type of arrangement. This is the body wall and there is the gut. Now, between the body wall and the gut, there are organs. But the blood is not pumped into the body cavity. The body cavity is present, like in all animals, but it is air-filled. It's not fluid-filled. It does not contain any blood. It is air-filled, so it just remains a coelom. But the organs are served directly by blood vessels. So from the heart, the blood is pumped and is conveyed to the different organs through blood vessels. Then from the various organs, the blood is again conveyed by vessels back to the heart. So that is a closed circulatory system. Now we can look at the differences between the open and closed circulatory system. Still tabulated here. In the open circulatory system, blood flows through the body cavity, thus comes into direct contact with the tissues. While in the closed, blood flows through vessels and never comes into contact with the tissues. Secondly, because of the open body cavity, the pressure is rapidly lost after pumping, so the blood flows under relatively lower pressure, and hence there is a lower speed of flow. But in the closed circulatory system, because of the closed and confined blood vessels, once the blood is pumped, the high pressure is maintained. So there is relatively higher pressure that is generated and maintained. Thus, there is a faster speed of blood flow. And because of this higher pressure that is generated, There are two distinct advantages that the closed circulatory system has over open circulatory system, which is one, the blood is pumped over a longer distance since there's a greater force pumping it, so it can travel over a longer distance, and this allows the animals to grow to larger size. Arthropods, such as insects, are partly limited in size because of the open circulatory system that cannot generate enough pressure to cover a long distance. But in the vertebrates, in the closed system, a relatively higher pressure is generated, and this enables the organism to grow to a relatively large body size. As you know, in nature, in many instances, size matters. The larger the animal, the better it will be to fend itself against predators and other enemies, and it will also, the easier it will be for it to obtain its food. Now, the second advantage is the faster rate of blood flow. The higher pressure enables the blood to flow at a faster rate. This means that nutrients are supplied at a faster rate and waste materials are removed faster. This makes the animals to be more active than those with open circulatory system.